Hello, my little bumblebees. I'm coming back with episode 2 of Monday Muse, where I chat art with you while we paint. Or say, grab a cup of tea, grab a snack. You can just hang out with me while I paint and do what you need to do, or just watch the time lapse and enjoy. I'm gonna get right into today's topic, which is procrastination as an artist. Whether you're a full-time artist, a part-time artist, if you have a day job and you practice art on the side, or if you just practice art as a hobby, I know that we have all been there. And procrastination can be devastating. It's really frustrating when you've been doing super well, just creating work, pounding it out, and suddenly you just cannot find the inspiration or motivation to continue working. Although, I think it can sometimes be an extremely healthy means of recharging your brain. Of course, this isn't always the case, especially if you're spending months staring at the same piece you've been dreading to work on. And I'm not really talking about procrastinating in months and months, or just staring at the same piece that you don't want to finish. Sometimes, though, a little break away from pounding away at creation is definitely healthy. We get into a rhythm of repetitive behaviors, of repetition in art and making, where ideas aren't flowing freely, and the style of these pieces just isn't evolving. This can be extremely frustrating because you have been practicing and practicing, but you just don't see any growth coming from all of the practice that you're putting in. And sometimes this can happen because you just get stuck making the same art. You're comfortable making the art that you're making, but it comes to the point where you're not happy with what you're creating anymore. I think this is when it's healthy to take a chance to recharge. Maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. Of course, if you have deadlines, it isn't always easy to just take time away from your easel, desk, or studio. In times like this, I find it's a good idea to take a break from personal work if I'm feeling extremely burnt out. And I do get burned out fairly easily if I'm just pounding away at making art. But that isn't always the case. Sometimes I want to make pieces all day, every day, where I spend hours just pounding away at the easel, pounding away in my studio space, whether I'm making a painting, music, a drawing, or sculptural work. Sometimes the pressure isn't there, and other times it is just too much, and eventually you will burn yourself out working like this. So I do find that it's a good idea to take a break from personal work if I'm feeling super burned out. And most of the time I don't work on commissions. I work on commissions every now and then, mostly for things like flower crowns and like cute little artisanal products and goods like that. But this time away can definitely give you a chance to figure out what's going wrong, to recharge, or find a new means of creating to evolve your style. I find that looking to other artists in times like this can be very helpful in the process of artistic evolution. I also find inspiration through nature, through the day-to-day, or through photography. I find a lot of inspiration through many other art forms. I find inspiration through music. So I know that not everybody finds inspiration through looking to other artists for work. So go out and find what inspires you. Take photos, or even spend a little bit of time making a quick study so you can get an idea of what you want to create, or take something totally out of your boundaries and just make a quick landscape study if you're not used to making landscapes. do a portrait of a random stranger, do a blind contour, which is where you don't pick your pen up off of the paper and you stare at whatever you're working on instead of looking at your paper. And it usually turns out like garbage, but it's really fun to do, and it's a really good way to really get your creative juices flowing, to get your body loose and nice and just there, I guess. And eventually, when you do all of these things, it's a lot easier to come up with, or to come back with, a new mindset on how to tackle your work as an artist. And this doesn't always work. Sometimes you're procrastinating just because you don't want to create. Sometimes you're procrastinating because you're worried that your art's not good enough. And it is always healthy to take a little bit of a break from what you're doing, or even taking a couple hours away from what you're working on so you can look at it with fresh eyes. I think that it's a really good idea to just put away what you're working on if you're really feeling burned out, if you're feeling stressed, if you're just not feeling like creating anymore. I find that it's really wonderful to just take the time to put it away and come back with fresh eyes in the morning, the next day, in a couple days. Spend some time doing some other stuff, maybe spend some time doing little doodles or whatnot. And I think that it is great to take time away from personal work and away from working on art for a little bit, but you don't want to take too much time away from art, because that can actually be devastating, as it can just totally take you away from the mindset of creating every day. For the last several months, I was struggling with creating art myself, and I was procrastinating. I didn't want to make anything. I made a few doodles here or there in about a month and a half, 2 month time frame, but I just wasn't making any work, and I was just very sad about it. But I found that just sitting down and putting my supplies to paper was the best means of getting back into it. And I'd say I definitely had a little bit of a style evolution, and I am very happy with the work I'm creating now. Although I do want to improve my style even more and develop myself as an artist. I think that I am improving every day that I create, and even on the days that I don't have the motivation or time to create art. And taking days like that away from your work is definitely healthy. Thank you for joining me today for our Monday Muse episode. I will see you in a couple weeks with a new episode, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you again for the support and being here. Okay, thanks, my little bumblebees. Goodbye.